The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to the CTM Fundamentals Training Course webinar. Um, my name, I'm Nicole. I'm your onboarding manager. I'm an onboarding manager here at CTM called Dragon Metrics. Previously, I was employed as the project manager at the FDA, and I've currently been here almost a year now to this company. Quick legalese information. We have made every effort to ensure that the information presented in today's webinar is complete and accurate at the time. So things will change. Getting started, kind of the recommendations of the course is if you do have CTM and 2 screens, have it open, follow along with what I'm doing and saying. Ask any questions. There's a little question box on your bottom right-hand screen if you have anything to ask. If you don't have the CTM, if you're just kind of here to get a feel for it, that's okay as well. Okay, and these are the things we're going to try to cover today. It's about a 45-minute webinar where I walk you through buying numbers, or if you're porting numbers, how to set up those numbers with the call settings and how to set those up. The dynamic number insertion piece, that thing where you're going to swap those phone numbers on your website for our tracking numbers. IVRs, if you're looking to press 1 for this, press 2 for that. Schedule is just a quick overview showing you where it is. Reporting, call log, text log, user accounts, integrations, the really big important integrations that you'll need, and the help menu and billing settings. So that's really what I'm going to go through. If you see anything that is not covered that you need covered, again, there's a little box of questions, and then there's also a Thursday course with my colleague Peter that has a little bit more information about those higher end, those more in-depth pieces of our system. Quickly, just a little bit about us. Started in 2010 in the basement of Todd and Lori, our co-founders. About 2 years developing them by themselves. They moved up in the world and got some office space, hired a couple people, and from there, 7 years later, we now have 35 employees. We service over 90 different countries with over 30,000 different countries. So let's get to talking about our system. All right, let me make this a little bigger here. Okay, this is our call log. This is what it will hopefully look like once you're finished with the setup. This is where we get those phone numbers and that attribution. So that means that something's happening to our website and once you're swapping your website, which you're swapping. So I'm going to just get to walk you through all of the things that we need to go through to do that. First things first, you need phone numbers. Either you purchase phone numbers from us, or you can port over any numbers that you have already working for you in your systems. To port over numbers, the first thing you're going to do is go to this numbers tab here on the left, and then you go to port numbers. Click on that, fill out all of this information. Then you'll also need to upload a proof of ownership of that phone number. and then we'll be able to process that for you. It takes about 2 weeks to process those porting. You get quite a few emails letting you know what's going on through the process. You'll get like a started porting email, this is when your projected phone number will port email, and so you'll get a lot of information during that process. And you can also, no, that's later. Never mind. Sorry. From the numbers page here, you go to the buy numbers. If you don't want to actually port any of your numbers over to us, and then you perfectly are able to just buy a couple of numbers to put over it. So what you'll do from here is you can see in this find numbers category here, you'll be able to search from some of the many countries that I mentioned earlier, those 90 countries. You can search through here, type in the name as well. Once you find the country that you love, that you're using, you can type in the area code as well. So I'm going to type in that area code, and then I'll click on search. Now, if you are looking to have those numbers, this phone number have support text messages, you'll also want to click on that little support text message box on the top right, so then make sure any of the phone numbers that come back to you also support texts. Typically, though, 90% of our phone numbers support text messages, US phone numbers. And so you'll see that when this listing will come back, so you'll get pages and pages. If you click on the next page, you'll get the next page of numbers in our list. And then if you find the perfect number, perfect city, perfect town, click on that little plus sign, and it'll put it into our little cart here on the top right. If you don't see a number that you want, or you want a certain specific vanity number, at the bottom of this page here is the request a number button. And sometimes there's countries that we don't hold a whole bunch of different phone numbers for, or if you want like 1-800 pants, then you can go in here and request that from us. But once you found those perfect phone numbers for your business, click on this confirm and purchase button here. And what happens is that we actually test the number to validate beforehand. So that little button you can turn it off if you'd like, if you don't want to test the numbers. And then when you process the order, once that order is processed, it'll take you to a screen that looks a lot like this. What this is our call, a configuration screen. What that is what we're going to do with that tracking number that you just purchased. What do we want to do with that? So first things first, the receiving number. If you are sending these tracking numbers to working business phone numbers, then you'll just type that in. Say, like I said, this is a phone number that goes over top of the number, so you'll just put the working business number here. That tracking source section is just going to associate whatever advertising channel you want to associate this tracking number with. Select from a various number of our tracking sources: Google Ads, Facebook, Twitter, television, print, whatever you'd like to actually track, you can select from that list here. And then the last thing on this list is the web target number. If you are looking to do that dynamic number swapping we talk about, what you'll need to do is put the phone number that lives on your website in this column here. Typically, it's the same thing as the receiving number. We just leave it separate in case it's not, but it's usually about the same thing as the receiving number. So once you fill out those three things, you're good to go on this configuration. If you forget what any of them are, you just click on that little question mark and it'll tell you what that is. You can remember a little bit, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, the next thing we're going to do with this call is, so we said where this phone number goes, but then we want to find out when that person first dials that number, what's going to happen. So if we go under the numbers here and then we go to call settings, it's going to be the next step in our little setup process. There's always a call settings set up here. So if you click into that little call setting there, it's named account level automatically. But the first thing we want to go to is this greeting message. What happens is it's a text to talk greeting message with Awesome Alice saying that little text that we wrote in there. So we can change this, so we can type it up any other saying or form of saying that you want. And this is what the caller hears when they first call. If you already have a greeting, if you don't want this at all, you can X out here on the right or just delete it all out, and then we won't say anything. But if you would like a greeting, type it in. And like I said, Awesome Alice is saying it for this count, but you can change it to any of the people on the list. And then you also have the option of changing the accent of the person saying the greeting. Don't want it text to talk? You can also record your own if you click on the little microphone. And then that little cloud means that you can upload a file if you already have an audio file available for you. The next thing we could do in this call setting is turn on the call recordings. And they are automatically turned on. So if you have something that you want to, like HIPAA laws apply, you can turn that little recording off. If you are going to use our soft phone and make outbound calls from the system and you would like to hear what those sound like, you can also turn that outbound recording calls on. It's typically turned off. Next section I like to show people is the caller ID. We do have a basic caller ID, but there is availability for an enhanced caller ID that you can request, and it's 20 cents. It's 10 cents per unique caller. But what it does get, if you so are interested, is social media websites. It gets average income, college level, number of children. It gets a lot more information about your caller so that you can maybe market better or target certain neighborhoods or something. So it's a great way to get more information if you like. The next section I like to show here is this agent whisper message. Now, if you are sending these calls directly to another company, say I'm a marketing firm and I want this other company to know how well I'm doing, then what I can do immediately is turn on that account whisper message or the source announcement whisper so that it tells whoever's answering the phone where this call is coming from. So I can say, this call is coming from marketing firm. Or I can tell them this call is coming from a Facebook campaign that we set up. So those are very cool ways that you can turn on and let other people know where these calls are coming from. So those are the call settings. If you have any questions about any of the other ones in there, again, let me know or attend our Thursday meeting. The next thing I'm going to show you is this under numbers is the tracking numbers list. And basically, it's just an overview of all the tracking numbers you have and all the tracking sources that you have established in your account, how they're going to be routed, how if you're just sending it to another phone number or however you chose to get those routed. If you do have numbers you're swapping, whatever that target number would be. If they are available for texts, that's here. Active. And then also it'll tell you how much your renewal cost is and how much those renewal rates are for each phone number as well. So it's just a great place to kind of get an overview of all your phone numbers. The next section I like to show is under numbers and then voice menus. So this is that IVR piece that I was telling you about. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. And then this is also where if you want to set up voicemails, that's where this will live. But I'm going to show you the press 1 for this, press 2 for that we already have set up here. So if you click into that, you can name it however you want. And then there's another section for greeting message. All of our greeting messages work the same. It is text to talk, upload, or record your own. And then the next piece is that you have to say what you're going to do when that person presses 1. So down here in those menu items, press 1, and then what we want to do, we want to dial another number. Do we want to call a specific agent? Whatever you'd like to do, we can take a look at and selecting from this list. And so the same thing happens if you want to press 2. A lot of people have set this up for their inner office. If somebody calls in from outside of the office and they want to, dial their extension, we can set that up if you're getting rid of your office extension IVR. We can set all that up here for you. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is schedules. As I said, it's just kind of a quick overview, but basically what you're doing is just entering in the date that you want these calls to run and the times that you want these calls to run. So there are options in all of our little menus that say, if you select the schedule, then you can also say what happens after that schedule. So it's called that after hours routing. So it's just easy peasy. Keep in mind that if you are setting a schedule and it is overnight, then you have to actually go to midnight to 12 a.m. and then have a second line item for 12 a.m. to whatever other that time is. So it doesn't loop around, unfortunately. Next, so last thing the next thing in the numbers menu that we're gonna talk about is that dynamic number insertion piece. So in order for those things to happen, for some person to come from, say, Google onto your website and that phone number swap out for your Google tracking number in our system, we have to make sure that all three things in this menu are set up. So we're going to go through each individual one and make sure they're all set up. Some of them we've already set up through doing the call settings or through the configuration screen, but we want to make sure that they're complete. So when we go into target numbers, now remember this is the part where I said this is the phone number that is on your website that you want our system to look at and swap. So in that target numbers piece, sometimes a phone number just looks like a phone number. For American Standard, it is parentheses, area code, 3 digits, dash, and then 4 digits. It's what it looks like all the time. So it's this middle one here. But sometimes an art department, say, will make it more creative, or if you literally have a word in your phone number instead of an actual phone number and you want that word to be swapped, then you can do that here. So say for instance, I have 555 PANT, like pants. Then what we would have to do is set up an exact match so that we know exactly what we're looking for when we do that swap, because it's not just a phone number. So you'll just have to if you do need that, then you'll click on that new target number and then enter that exact match. See, as I said, if you turn off exact match, it's just going to ask you to put in the standard phone number. If you turn it on, you can type in anything and it'll make that swap. Okay, so those are all set up. Those are perfect. Next thing you're going to do is go to the tracking sources. All of these tracking sources are what you picked when you did that configure number. But say for instance, you want to create a new one or you have a unique one that you want to do, then you can go in here and create that new one here under tracking sources. One of the more common purposes for coming in here is if you are running a Google AdWords account. You click into our Google AdWords source. If you scroll down, the trigger is the G-CLID identifier. Occasionally, people don't necessarily run G-CLID campaigns through Google Ads. What they'll do is actually do UTM parameter ads. So what you'll want to do is change that landing URL from the G-CLID to the UTMs that you're using. There's a little example here at the bottom that you can copy and paste into. You can copy and put into your landing URL if you're using UTMs. If you're using G-CLID, in general, then you can just leave it the way it is. Some people also do like multi-sources. Like if you want to do all social media sources in just one place, then you can do that here as well. Okay, so the next piece, if you go under numbers, this is the final leg of that tripod that we call dynamic number insertion, is the tracking code. What this is this little JavaScript here. Copy it, paste it in the head tag of your landing pages. When you paste it into the head tag of those landing pages, that's what starts the process of the swap. You can copy and paste. You also have two other options for putting it on your website. If you do run WordPress, we have a WordPress plugin here that you can use. It's pretty easy. And then we also have the option of doing um, Google Tag Manager will also do this for you. So you can put this code into Google Tag Manager. It'll do that swap for you automatically when it happens, when somebody comes into your website. But those are all the 3 things that you need for that dynamic number insertion piece. Once those are all set up, you're great to go. There's a couple other steps after that I will show you in a few minutes. I just want to get through a couple more things, and then we'll show you the integrations piece as well. But I just want to go through this menu straight across. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the reporting. There are 3 different reports I like to show, kind of take a look around. The first one is the activity report. And what this does is it kind of gives you an overview of the phone calls within your system. This is a test account, so it doesn't get many calls. Apparently, I called a lot on the 26th. But what you can do is if we click all time here and apply the filter, then what we'll get is an overview of the lifetime of this account. What you can see from this is typically the differences in all of those tracking sources that you have and how well they are doing. You can also see the total number of calls you got, ring time, talk time, all that stuff. And then you can also see like the conversions, which you're going to need, which you can track if you're doing scoring within our call log. So you can kind of see what you actually made from those phone calls that you received as well. Okay, so that's and then you also want to be able to know about the filters. There are at least 100 filters here on the left. You can filter it by a lot of different things within that call, within that list of calls. And once you find the perfect filter, you can also save those filters and select them later for ease of use. So you can save that filter. You can also change the view by changing the types of things that you'd like to see. All right, so the next report I like to show is the account usage. What this does is it's a monthly report, or at least you can make it a monthly report. You can make it date to date. That tells you how much you're spending for each of these phone numbers, for the total cost of those calls that you've had for them. Looks like it's only the 5th day of the month, so we don't have much in here. Total cost, total minutes, how much they cost, how many messages are billable, all that information. It's really great for an accounting report. Let's take a look at a more wide frame. There we go. So that's all the phone numbers, how much they cost a month, and now it's a little bit better. Okay. Final report I like to show is the notifications report. What this does is it'll enable you to send out reports on your call log or any of the other activities in your account automatically to say your customers or to yourself if you don't want to sit in this system all day. So what we'll do is we'll go into this daily digest here, name it whatever you like, and then you'll do a type. So you can do daily, hourly, weekly, monthly, however you like. After every call, every time someone submits a form, you can do all of those things in here. Select from that. Then you get to tell it when to run and how. Typically, it would be really great to send it at, I like to send in things at midnight just because that's probably when the least amount of calls are coming in. Next thing you can do, type in any email, any recipient that you'd like in the email recipients. You can also include or exclude any of the buttons in the call log that you need. Just click on them and they'll move over to the include or exclude. Sorry. Now the next thing I like to do is do a filter. So say for instance you got wrong numbers, and sometimes you just don't need to report on those wrong numbers. What we'll do is we'll put in a filter that'll say we're only going to trigger this notification if the talk time is greater than 10 seconds. Because it's, 10 seconds is fast enough to say, sorry, wrong number. So anything above 10 seconds is going to be sent in this report. You can also test and preview this notification to make sure it looks good for what your purposes are. And you can also see when it is delivered. So that is our reports. Call logs. Let's go back to our call log. So call is call log. All right. So if we're looking at a good call log here, we got a name, phone number, location, what tracking source they called from. The next column over is actual session data, what they typed in to get to your website. As I stated, you can score calls. So if you click here on the little score button, what you'll be able to do is rate it from 1 to 5, or you can turn on the converted and say how much it was converted for. You also, if you do have audio, there's going to be little headphones here. You can click on that button and listen to the audio. The metrics are date, time, and whether the call is answered or not answered. You can also individually email this call to anyone you'd like. Say if you have a call manager and you want to reward this great customer service call, then you'll just click in, select or type in any email address, type a message about the call, and then you can include the call recording if you select that one little button there. You can also flag the calls. So say for instance, you're doing a couple of test calls and you don't want those test calls on your report. You can exclude the call activity. You can also block this contact from contacting you anymore. And it looks like we've already reported this as a spammer for test purpose, but you can also mark as spam. And what that does is it's a little red button there that shows you that it's spam. Oops, I did it again. Oh well. And then so when they call in, you can see that it's spam calling in. There's also our little soft phone here on the top right. Click on that button and that phone pops up here, or you can do it outside, but I am in full screen mode, so it won't let me. But you can use that phone from here. Next thing I want to show is our text log. Text in the text log. So as you can see, here are your texts from different sources here. Same thing as your call log, exactly. You can see the entire conversation when you click in. Then you also have the option of sending new individual text messages from that. If you click on top right, new text, type in the phone number and send a message. But then also from this text menu, you can send bulk text messages. Go to the bulk message log, start a new bulk message, type in whatever message you like. You can add attachments to any email. And then you can either type in your list or upload a CSV file of those numbers. And then you can select what tracking number you want to send that text from. And put in a schedule. Pretty cool, or a bulk message. Now, I was going to show you about finishing up your integrations next. So what you're going to do is here, your settings, integrations. And now I had mentioned that those 3 pieces that we did that for that dynamic number insertion were complete. Now, if you are doing Google or Google swapping, then you will actually need to go into our integrations as well and connect to them. Firstly, you want to do the Google Ads, and Google Ads is for if you are doing click to call or call extensions. All you'll do is associate your tracking source, your ad extension tracking source here. Save changes, and then once you save changes, this ad script pops up. Copy this ad script and paste it into your Google Ads. Instructions are here below. They are the old view, but it is the same exact concept still. So once you do that, you're all set to go on your click to call integration. The next one you want to do is the analytics integration. Click into the analytics integration, sign in to Google, select the correct UA code, and then that's it for our system. But then you'll also need to go into Google Analytics and set up a goal. Please let me know if you need information on setting up a goal for those calls. Those are the two important integrations, but then we have a whole bunch of other ones. Now I'm showing the contact center, so some of these are not included in the lower plans, but we also have Facebook, HubSpot. We just rolled out Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce, and WordPress. So those are some really great ones, but then take a look around, see what else. We also have a Stripe integration as well. Sorry. Take a look around, see if you like a lot of our integrations. If you have any questions, let me know as well. And then we are planning on rolling out a couple other pretty big ones soon enough. So you'll want to, but as I said, take a look around our integrations under that, settings integrations. Next thing you want to talk about, adding users. So settings and then users. So if you want to add new users, you want to think about the level of access that you want them to be able to have in your account. First address and name, first name and last name, the instructions will automatically send to them about how to cut into the platform and how to set up their password. But this assign role thing is what I'm talking about. So just to quick overview of that, the admin is the person that has power over the entirety of the account. They can make changes, they can do whatever they would like within that account. Billing managers, what they'll do is be able to access only any information about the money. So there's the billing settings as well as that report that I had shown you earlier. There's also the reporting and call managers. They are similar in that they both have a lot of access to the call log mostly, but report managers can edit and export that call log, whereas call managers can only look. And then agents, they literally only get to see the calls that are coming directly to them. So they don't get any of that other information from your system. So when you're setting up new users for your account, it's something you want to think about. Next thing I'm going to do under settings, I'm going to explain our billing. It's an interesting thing that we do here with our billing. And that's actually also how you get to your sub accounts if you have that access, if you have that availability. Our billing, how we do this is what we'll typically do is charge you when you initially come in your monthly fee plus a $25 balance in your account. So what that $25 balance will do is it'll stay there, and then we'll pick at all the little things that you do within your account from that balance until it falls below this certain recharge amount. And then we'll put it back up to 25 and do the same thing. So every time you use a minute, every time you buy a number, every time you send a text message, we're picking at that $25 until it hits below 15. Go to your billing settings, and if you find that you're going to use this a lot more often than just some $25 worth, change this chargeback up to higher, just so that we're not hitting your card balance every $10. So change it up to a higher amount, and you can also change this to lower to $10. Just so that we, like I said, we're not hitting your card that often, because a lot of card companies will say this looks like fraud. It's not fraud. It's just that we set the low bar so that you can make sure that you are within a certain frame. So in your billing settings, go change that. I will also mention that this critical billing phone number should be filled out. What happens is if you say your credit card is expired, you don't want your calls to stop. So I recommend putting in a number that will text to let you know that the billing information is expired. We do always send emails, but I tell you, I look at my texts more often than I look at my emails. So put that number in to text you about if your card's expiring or something. Okay, that's our billing. Um, Reaching near the end, again, if you have any questions, in the settings, under account settings, I'll say I love this account so much, but I want to get into that Microsoft Dynamics feature and I don't have the access. If you go into account settings here in the top, you can look at your current plan and also change it from there. If you click change, then you can actually see what is included, what is not in the account level that you have. Then you can also see how much cheaper minutes are or how much cheaper phone numbers are in the higher rate plans. And again, you can see those integrations that we don't include. So say if you have a business plan, we don't typically include queues, call queues in this. So take a look around, see if there's anything you'd like that we don't offer to the plan that you have. If you love every minute of this but you still need more help, as I stated, I am the onboarding manager here. If you have an account, I've already contacted you so we can have a heart-to-heart discussion about your account. But if that's not the case, then if you go into our help menu here, there are several different options for getting help. Firstly, we have our online support center. If you click in there, articles galore. You can see that there's sections here. There's also sections here, but if you have a question, you could type it in, and then articles will come up for you. Articles and videos will come up for you. Now, there's also the option of a couple of our recorded sessions. If you like this live training thing, if you go here on the live training, you can find all of our scheduled trainings for the rest of the month. As you can see, our franchise spotlight, as well as our Google attribution and analytics, is tomorrow. As I stated, Thursdays are fundamentals advanced, so that's the more advanced features than what I've gone through. I basically go through setup. We also have an academy that's going next week that goes through bit by bit every little piece of this system. And basically, what we do is we set up an account while talking to you. So you can ask any questions like, hey, what's that? Or if you have any features that you're not using that you're curious about, take a look in there and see what's available. This is also where if you have API questions, we have API office hours available that you can sign up for. And our head developer, Bob, gets on there and gets into the nitty gritty with whoever needs it. So take a look at our live training schedule as well. As for the rest of the help menu, our support team, I like to call them the best in the business because it's true. You can chat with them or call them anytime between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. That's Eastern Standard Time. And then Friday it's 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. because we like to let them have fun. Live chat, like I said, or call. You can create a ticket at any time. We guarantee you at least get a response within the next business day on that ticket. If you have thought about this long and hard and you love every bit of what we can do, but you don't want to go through that setup process, you can click on this professional services tab, fill out a little bit of information, and we'll contact you and let you know how we can set up this thing for you. As I had stated earlier about the API, click on the API docs. There are plenty available that will help you get through any kind of extra stuff that if you want to bridge the gap. So yeah, that is pretty much everything. I didn't see any questions. I will stay on for another minute or two to see if there are any. But thank you so much for attending, and you guys have a wonderful day. There's a questions box on the bottom right if you want to type that in. Okay, so tell me whether I need a Google forwarding number to get proper tracking in your platform and call tracking metrics. Google does not provide forwarding number. Um, you can use our tracking number for that purpose. This is for the click to call, if I'm not mistaken. Then um, oh, in Barbados, yes, it's click to call. Typically what we'll do is we have a tracking number and it's supposed to double forward. So what happens is that you tell Google that your phone number is our tracking number, and then Google would provide you a forwarding number. If they're not providing you a forwarding number now, then I'm not sure how that would work. Let me email you my response in full. Is that okay? Okay. I will email you, Mr. Nurse. Okay. And I'm going to end this right now. Okay. But I'll email you in a few minutes. Thank you.